I mean, we are late already, right? So
75 years late?
at least 20 years late.
Right.
So for us, in global economies, if we see most of the developed economies, right? So if you take OECD countries, the 24 of them are mainly colonialized economies, right? And they have got their capital before the, everything happens. And then the countries which developed very recently over the last 50 years, they used very similar path. They said, this is what we are going to produce, this is what we are going to export, and this is how we are going to take the global market. And in that, mostly all of these countries use private sector entrepreneurship, and the government did support these entrepreneurs to win the market. And the SME, the SOEs, especially energy sector, the infrastructure, and the transportation, was used to fuel these industries. Very simple take. I mean, if you take Korea, right, South Korea, the Hyundai, when they produced Hyundai, initially it was with Ford, and only 10,000 cars were produced by 1976, whereas General Motors was producing 5 million and Ford was producing 2.5 million. People would have thought they're crazy, right? But that government supported Hyundai, provided loans, and used restrictive imports to protect that manufacturing. And now they are the third largest producer. They took it over, and the LG, they got the technology, they produced their manufacturing. So FDIs without a strategy, government policies without understanding what we are going to really produce for the world, whether it's a service or a product.
But I'm smiling here because when I hear you, this sounds like some utopia. But they do have a strategy. Their strategy is, how much is it in for me? That's been the strategy.
So for us, that's been the political problem, right? I mean, the people need to understand what politics means at the first place. Now after Aragale also, if we can't understand what politics supposed to do in a country, politics simply supposed to do is to use the resources you have productively, make money, and ensure that it's redistributed in a fair manner, not through tax, but people to become part of that economy, allowing people to create businesses and make entrepreneurship and distribute that wealth in an equitable manner. But that is not what's happening now. Even now in the crisis, you would see this is a political game for the next year's election. They are not doing structural changes that are required to bring at least one for us. Now if you take, we have 6, somehow we have got competitive advantage, right? We have apparel industry, we have agri exports, we have tourism, we have IT sector, we have minerals that we can value add and sell, we have port services. Those 6, neither of those 6 we see a strategy here, right? The government is not doing its part to focus the whole effort onto those industries, whereas Ranil Wickremesinghe is talking about 13th Amendment, this policy, that policy, this. No, they are actually trying to, camouflage this problem and live another year, take some loans. And also the real issue is with this neoliberal policies, they are trying to invite the black investments. That's the problem. You know what? Black investments. Now in the world, there's clean investments, green investments.
Yeah.
The black investors can't go to any developed nation now. Why? The labor laws are strong. The labor protections are good and it's fair. There's minimum wages that's been applied. But they are looking for bankrupt countries to come and exploit labor. That's why the labor reforms are brought in. It's not a necessity at this point. It's not to bring an investor who's focused, who's sustainable. It's to bring investors who are dark, who has been restricted to go into Europe, who has been restricted to go into countries like New Zealand, Singapore or anywhere because they can't exploit. So the whole strategy here is to keep people in dark and allow this country to be sold by piece. And there is no production plan that we can see. And again, if you look at, to do whatever, we need the human capital. Education is falling into part.
Well, this is the whole point. I was going to bring this up to you.
Health is
about
falling
the
to
Koreans. In Sri Lanka, ladies and gentlemen, the figures are very simple. Approximately anything between 320 to 350,000 students enter the education system every year.
Yeah.
By the time they come to the opportunity of getting into university, there still is only 30 to 35,000, depending how you do the figures, 30 to 35,000 spaces at our state universities. And that is an appalling record. In South Korea, I think you might find a university at almost every street corner. Because they invested. Invest was their motto.
Their education.
And they have educated they have a highly educated workforce. And not where they are, their degrees, their training programs are fine-tuned to their market.
Yeah, so for us, that's why I said, unless we have a production or a service strategy, we don't know what resources we need, right? I mean, for me to tell, within 5 years, I need 1,500 electricians for the apparel industry.
Yeah.
5,000 IT graduates for the IT industry. If I don't have that forecast, where's my education going? It's not only the higher education. Now, if you know that 350,000 children are born, where is the school? First place. Parents are struggling to put them into school. It's Sustainable Development Goal 4 requests or says to the whole world the primary, pre and the secondary education should be provided by the government. There's no doubt about it across the world, right? But what about our children? How many children would get a standard school? Out of the 10,100 schools, 5,900 categorized as difficult. That was in 2019. I don't know what the state is now, right? So we start the problem there. Look at our preschools. None of those are in any standard. So if you don't invest in that, how do you ignite innovation? How do you ignite skills?
Does the NPP have these plans all set up now?
Of
Are you all
course.
ready to go?
We were set to go in 2019 also, but there are a lot of changes that we are doing to the policies that was made. But it's a holistic policy.
But what's happened?